The notification came at 6:47 a.m. while I was tying my work boots. My phone buzzed twice on the kitchen counter. I picked it up expecting a schedule change or maybe a weather alert. Instead, I got a text from my wife that rewired my entire morning. Its plans changed. You're staying home. The kids want their biological father on the Europe trip. Dennis is coming instead. I read it 3 times. Same words each time. No apology, no explanation, just a decision handed down like I was an employee being reassigned. I set the phone on the counter and stared at the coffee maker. The red light blinked, steady and patient. My hands were calm. That surprised me. I poured coffee into my thermos and sat at the kitchen table. It's the same table where we'd planned this trip 6 months earlier. I'd circled dates on the calendar and calculated costs. I'd signed up for overtime to cover the flights I paid for last week. Flights that apparently didn't include me anymore. The apartment was too quiet. She'd left yesterday with Justin and Annabelle. She's headed to her sister's before the international departure tomorrow morning. 2 weeks touring museums, eating at cafes, taking photos in front of old buildings. I'd been looking forward to it. Not anymore. I opened our bank accounts. The Europe fund was nearly empty after the ticket purchases, 3 tickets at $1,900 each. My savings sat where I'd been building an emergency fund for 5 years. Untouched by anyone but me. I opened my email. The flight confirmations were there. All the tickets charged to my credit card. My name on the billing. Her name on the passenger list. Her kids on the passenger list. Dennis Olsen on the passenger list. I assumed I'd never met Dennis. He'd been gone before I came into the picture, then reappeared 6 months ago at Justin's graduation. All smiles and backslaps, like he'd been there the whole time. My wife called it closure. I called it what it was. I was too polite to say it out loud. I stood and walked to the window. The parking lot below was filling with people heading to work. Normal Tuesday morning. Everyone had somewhere to be. I had a ceramics workshop shift starting in 40 minutes. Industrial tile production, steady pay, nothing glamorous. I'd taken that job 8 years ago when we needed reliable income, when her kids needed school supplies and winter coats, when the car needed fixing. I pulled extra shifts and handled the bills. My father taught me to keep records. Every payment, every receipt, every auto draft. I opened my household folder. 8 years of documentation stared back, rent receipts, utility bills, car insurance payments, phone plans, streaming subscriptions, and more. All under my name. All paid by me. I made a list, not because I was angry, but because I needed to see it written down. By the time I finished, I'd counted 42 recurring monthly expenses I covered alone. 40-2, my phone buzzed. Another text from her, don't be upset. Dennis wants to bond with his kids. You understand? I typed 5 different responses and deleted them all. Finally, I wrote, have a good trip. 4 words and a period. Then I called my supervisor and said I needed the day off. Family emergency. He didn't ask questions. I sat down with my laptop, my phone, and all the documents I'd saved over the years. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to do what I should have done the first time I felt like a wallet with legs. Carefully, methodically, completely. The coffee in my thermos had gone cold by the time I made the first 3 calls. I didn't notice. 12 more to make before lunch. First call, the credit card company. I removed an authorized user from my account. For minutes and she was off. Second, streaming services Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify. Same script, same answers. Just cutting back, I said, by call 5. I had the phone plan. 3 lines under my name. Mine, hers, and Annabelle's. I canceled the other 2. This will disconnect service immediately, the rep warned. That's correct, I said. I kept going. Car insurance on her Mazda, the one I had been paying for since the transmission went out 3 years ago. I called the agent. He knew me by name. Which vehicle? He asked. I said, the Mazda. Remove it. He paused. That's your wife's car, right? Positive? He processed it that day. She'd need her own coverage if she wanted to keep driving it. I walked to the closet. My clothes took up a third of the space. The rest was hers. Dresses she'd bought for dinners I'd paid for, shoes that cost more than my work boots. I didn't touch any of it. I just stood there and looked at how much room. I'd given up without noticing. My laptop was still open when I pulled up the lease agreement. My name, my signature, her name nowhere. I'd signed this lease 5 years earlier when we'd moved in together. Back when she said her credit wasn't great and asked if I'd handle it alone. I'd been too stupid to say no. I called property management. Faith answered. I need to discuss my lease, I said. I'm planning to vacate early. What's the process? She checked my account. Paid through the end of next month. Give 30 days notice, and they'll list it. Market's good right now. She emailed the notice form while we were still on the line. I signed it and sent it back. My phone buzzed. Justin, dude, my phone just died. What happened? I typed back, payment plan was under my account. You'll need to set up your own. Annabelle texted next. Same confusion. Same question. I gave the same answer. My wife called. I let it ring 4 times before I picked up. Her voice was tight and controlled, the tone she used when she was angry, but trying not to show it in public. What are you doing? She asked. Adjusting expenses, I said. You canceled the kids' phones. I canceled the lines I was paying for. They're adults now. They can handle their own bills. This is ridiculous. We're about to leave the country. You should have sorted that out before your flight, said. Silence. I could hear airport announcements in the background. Gate changes. Boarding calls. You're being childish, she finally said. I'm being clear, I replied. You wanted your actual family on this trip. I'm giving you exactly that. She began to protest, but I hung up. My hands weren't shaking. My voice hadn't raised. I felt calm in a way I hadn't in years. That afternoon, I kept calling. The gym membership. The meal kit subscription. The car detailing service I'd been paying for out of habit. By sunset, 42 monthly expenses were down to 11, only mine. Only what I actually used. I ordered Chinese takeout and ate at the kitchen table with my laptop open, going through documents. 8 years of being the foundation everyone stood on while pretending I was part of the structure. Not anymore. I had work to do the next day. Bigger work. The kind that closed doors instead of leaving them open. The next morning I called Ian Wagner, a lawyer recommended by a coworker's brother. What can I do for you? He asked. I explained the text, the trip, the lease in my name, the bills I'd covered. He listened and said I should document everything. If this goes to court, the records would matter. I already had them. He told me to call if she filed anything. 20 minutes later, Faith from property management called back. She already had someone interested. A clean-cut couple wanted to move in on the 1st. I signed the lease termination that evening. The apartment felt different, less like a home, more like a hotel I'd overstayed in. I started packing that night. I didn't have much. Clothes, work gear, my laptop, some books. Most of the furniture had been there when we moved in, or she'd picked it out. None of it was mine. Everything fit in 8 boxes and 2 duffel bags. While I packed, I thought about their trip, the museums, the restaurants, the hotel rooms I'd helped pay for. I wondered if Dennis was covering anything, or if she'd assumed I'd keep the money flowing even after being uninvited. Probably the latter. My phone buzzed. Annabelle, Mom says. You're being unreasonable. Can you just talk to her? I replied. I did talk to her. She made her choice. I'm making mine. You're really going to throw away our family over this? She asked. Family. You threw it away when you picked your biological father over the man who's been here for 8 years, I wrote. I'm just accepting what you already decided. No response. I kept packing. The next day, I rented a climate-controlled storage unit on the east side of town. I stored everything except what I'd need for 2 weeks. I filed a forwarding address at the post office, not to an apartment, but to a P.O. box 3 towns over in Riverside. Small town, low cost of living, manufacturing jobs available. I could find something similar anywhere. Back at the apartment, I transferred the remaining funds into my personal account and closed the joint checking. My phone rang. Her name on the screen? I answered. The bank called me, she said. No hello, no greeting. You closed our account? I closed my account, I corrected. You're welcome to open your own. This is insane. We're married. You were, I said. Past tense. You'll get the papers when you're back. Divorce papers. Ian Wagner's handling it? You're serious? Completely. Where are you going to go? That's not your concern anymore, I said. You wanted Dennis involved? He's the father. Let him figure it out. That's what fathers do. I hung up before she could respond. Two weeks later, I turned in my keys. The apartment was rented. I packed the last box and drove to Riverside. A small, furnished room above a hardware store. Cheap rent, walking distance to Bishop Manufacturing. I had lined up a job starting Monday. I didn't tell anyone where I was. The first sign things were falling apart came from social media. Justin posted a photo at the airport with the caption, "Home Sweet Home." Annabelle posted, "Why is there a moving truck at our building?" I closed the app and made dinner. Eggs and toast. Cheap and simple. Mine. That night, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls, 12 texts, 3 voicemails. I let them pile up while I watched local news on the small TV in my room. Finally, I checked the messages. Her first, "Call me now." Second, "Where are you? The apartment is gone." Third, "This isn't funny." I deleted the voicemails without listening all the way through. At 9:15, she tried calling from another number. I answered. "Where are you?" She demanded. "Somewhere else," I said. "The apartment's gone. There are strangers living in it. Our things are everywhere. We can't get in," I corrected. "Mine are already moved. You can't do this." I did do this. "Where are we supposed to stay?" "That's not my problem anymore." "You wanted Dennis?" "He's the father." "Let him figure it out." She started to cry, the kind that was frustrated more than genuine. "Please," she begged. "Just talk to me. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I said. "You told me I wasn't part of your actual family. You meant it?" "I meant it exactly like that." I hung up. Justin texted, "Mom's freaking out." "You took everything," I replied. "I took what was mine. Everything else is still there. The apartment was in my name. I'm not paying rent for people who don't want me around." "Where are we supposed to live?" "That's between you, your mom, and your father." No reply. Around midnight, the phone went quiet. I sat with the window open, listening to town sounds, distant traffic, a dog barking, the hum of a street light. I thought about their photos from Europe. I thought about the text that had started it all. The kids wanted their biological father. They got him. Then they understood exactly what that meant. I turned off the phone, plugged it in, and slept. 3 weeks into my new job, Ian emailed. Legal notice received. She'd filed a motion to contest the apartment termination and demanded I cover temporary housing costs. Ian attached the documents and a note, "Weak case. She has no legal standing. I'll handle it." The motion was dismissed 2 days later. The judge ruled the apartment was solely in my name. The lease termination was proper. I had no obligation to house adult stepchildren or an arranged spouse. I saved the email in a folder labeled legal and went back to work. My routine became simple. Clock in at 6, clock out at 2:30. Stop at the diner for coffee, walk back to my room, read, watch TV, sleep. Nobody asked why I'd moved or where I'd come from. I was just another guy who showed up, did the work, and kept to himself. It felt good. A month after they'd returned, Justin messaged, "I get why you're mad. It started, but this is affecting all of us." Mom had to get a job at a call center. Annabelle's couch surfing. We had to sell stuff just to cover rent. Dennis won't answer anyone. "Can't you just help a little?" I read it twice and closed the app. 2 days later, Annabelle sent a friend request on a platform I barely used. I declined. Then she found my email. She wrote, "I never wanted this to happen. I thought having my dad there would be nice. I didn't think you'd actually leave. Can we talk, please? You're 22. Justin's 24. You're both adults, I replied. Your mom made a choice. You supported it. Now you're dealing with the outcome. That's not my responsibility anymore. She wrote back, so that's it? 8 years and you just walk away? I walked away first, I wrote. I just made it official. No response. Work kept me busy. The guys at Bishop were decent. A few of us ate lunch together sometimes. We talked about sports and weather, nothing personal. 6 weeks in, my soon-to-be ex-wife sent a longer, desperate message. Dennis had vanished 2 days after the trip. Justin worked 2 jobs. Annabelle had to drop a class. I made a mistake, she wrote. Can we please talk? I miss you. I saved the message to legal and didn't reply. Ian called a week later. She was trying mediation. She wanted alimony and temporary support. How long had we been married? 6 years. According to the records, I paid for everything. Ian said she was entitled to very little. He negotiated. She asked for $2,000 a month. The mediator offered $500. Ian countered with $0. They settled on nothing. Case closed. Divorce finalized in 60 days. That weekend, I drove to a state park an hour from Riverside. I walked a trail, sat by a lake, watched the wind move the water. I thought about the man I'd been 4 months earlier, tying his work. Boots at 6:47 a.m. and the text that changed everything. I thought about the life I had now, small, quiet, uncomplicated. A job I didn't hate. A town where nobody knew my history. A bank account only I had access to. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was free. Months later, while on a break at work, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered. Hello? Is this you? It was Shirley, my wife's sister. Her voice was older and tired. I need you to know what you did, she said. They're falling apart. My sister's working 60 hours a week. Justin had to drop his certification. Annabelle's couch surfing. Dennis won't return calls. He blocked them, listened. She pleaded. I told her I cared for 8 years. I paid for everything. Took extra shifts, signed leases and bills. The second they chose their biological father, I became disposable. I'm done being warm, I said. She was quiet. Then she said her sister cried every night and was sorry. I told her she could live with that choice. I was clear and cold, not because I wanted to punish, but because I was done being taken for granted. That night I received an email from Annabelle. Subject, I'm sorry. She wrote that she and Justin realized what I'd done for them. They took it for granted. I read it 3 times and replied, I appreciate you writing this. Understanding what you lost doesn't change that you were willing to lose it in the first place. You're 22. You're old enough to have known better. I gave 8 years. I didn't do it expecting gratitude, but I also didn't expect to be replaced. 2 weeks later, the divorce was final. No ceremony, no drama, just paperwork that made official what had already been true for months. A month after the divorce, I deleted every photo of my old life. The apartment, the trips, the family dinners where I'd smiled for the camera while feeling like an outsider all gone. I kept one thing, a screenshot of that first text. Plans changed. You're staying home. The kids want their biological father on the Europe trip. I kept it not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained by walking away. Dignity, peace, a life that belonged to me. 6 months in, Riverside became a year. I got a small raise at Bishop. I started going to a local diner on Friday nights where the waitress knew my order. I bought a used truck. I didn't date. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. But I was okay with that. I'd spent 8 years building a foundation for people who saw me as temporary. Now I was building something permanent for myself. That was enough. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos you might enjoy. Click one, and I'll see you in the next story. See you soon.